So, as we discuss today, we are going to start one more, you can say, useful architecture concept for this microservice world. As we discuss, microservice is the one application, right?
Yeah.
Uh, app- Micro means a small application. A small application, that means as small as possible. Simple. So, due to that, the name say micro, right? Micro means as small as possible, right? So we are saying microservice. And applications are in enterprise application, any bigger applications. How to build that? If we are going to build a small to small application, but in a reality, always your application required for particular organization, particular company, particular industry. So this micro thing how to serve. So microservice architecture says before microservice, there is a concept of the monolith microservices, right? That means we are building service, one service, and all the functionality of the particular company. Let's say we are going to build the application for the telecom industry, right? The telecom industry has some licensing issues, some customer base, some calling details, some right, some
Right.
billing systems, from then the networking related issue. All are different functionality, right, of this telecom industries. So for all required functionality, we are building as a one applications. And these applications are responsible to serving all the requests, right? One application. And this whole one application deployed in the one centralized, big, powerful machine, right? And these
Yeah.
powerful machines have a high number of RAM, high number of memory space, so that they are going to handle any number of requests, right? And internally, all the service are taken care of the respective request, what request come, right? This concept known as your monoliths or simple web service concept, right? For each request, their request come from the billing system, they directed to the billing module, right? One request come for the customer base, move to the customer module, right? So
Right.
in this application, previously we are building, and that was good. But nowadays, due to the cloud availability of lots of hardware, lots of infrastructures, now the programming model change from monolith to microservice. So here say ki these all are the small your function, business unit. Just build different service itself, different service. Now previously this is the one big application and one big database. They are holding all the data of, right, each microservice, right? So generally one server, one database, and lots of module all deployed in the one bigger machine, right? So now say ki now I'm going to for each different microservice one, microservice two. Each have a own database. This is the data one, this is the data one, this is the data one. So this is the basic microservice, nothing. Just individual, independent, testable module, a function of your business, right? So
Right.
now,
Right.
like employee, this is the employee management system. Generally this microservice only store the employee detail. Maybe this is the address detail, only contain the all the address detail, address create, update, delete. They contain the department details, all the department add, update, delete, right? So they are independently deploying the maybe different cloud, different machine, anywhere you can deploy. So as a customer perspective, if customer want to know, hey, what is the employee name, what is the address, what is the department they are working, okay, they want all the detail in one page. So internally, our one microservice, I am creating one microservice. They are going to call employee detail here, one address detail here, one department detail here, make a response and tell the customer, right? So now one microservice talk to another microservice. That means ki one microservice take data from the different microservice. So this is the one of the basic core how one microservice exchange data to another microservice, because finally we are building application for a customer. A customer really want employee and address and department in one screen, one page, right? They don't want you are building the different microservice. Then you can go this
Right.
microservice and call the employee detail, this microservice then address detail, this microservice then department detail, right? So the one of the basic feature of microservice, they are able to exchange data or communicate to each other, right? So today our objective is that we are going to build couple of microservice, microservice 1, microservice 2, microservice 3, and let's how this microservice wants some data from here, how they take, because they have own database, they cannot access directly. They can talk to this microservice, they can talk to this microservice, whatever the business needed, right?
Right.
So our objective, we are going to build couple of small microservices for testing, and let's objective how one microservice send data to another first, right? So we are going to build, let's say, basic example. One is a employee service, one is your department service. Okay. This employee one, employee two, employee three. Here we created a create, update, delete API. Employee can create, employee can get, employee can delete, employee can update. That's similarly I can create here different microservice, different database. They have own database, right? They have
Right.
own database, right? This is the one department microservice. We have own database. Department create, update, delete, get all the endpoints. Okay, so they are maybe running on the different machine. These are running on the different machine, right? But now I want one response where your employee detail plus department detail I need, right? That means this information I need from one information from here, one information from here, right? Employee detail and department detail. So this is I going to create one new microservice. That the microservice going to call, hey, give me the employee detail. They say, hey, give me the department detail, and I am building the response and sending to the customer. Hey, customer, it is your response, right? So this is the things we are going to the build, right? Is there any confusion?
Okay. So two different database,
Two different application microservice.
two different application.
Hmm,
So we will take information from those microservices
hmm.
and compile in the middle. That is also a microservice, right?
This is also all on one microservice.
And then send it to somewhere to the client.
Maybe client, maybe application, right?
Okay, I understand now. Okay.
So
I
here
understand.
means this is deployed in maybe Google Cloud, maybe this is the Amazon Cloud, this is my private machine, right?
Right.
So our purpose here we are going to learn how I means one microservice or send or exchange some data. Yeah, request response how happen between the different machine, different the microservice, right?
Right.
It's good.
Yeah.
So as usual, let's do build the basic these two endpoint. This is the basic. Already you know how to build, right? Just
Yeah.
we learn how to this communication happen, right? Fast. So let's as usual we start your building the basic application, right?
Right.
Hmm. As usual, let's say here say your Maven project latest version, and here say I am going to use the this is the EMP service. Okay, let's example. EMP service. Okay, this is the EMP service means they manage the employee detail, right?
Right.
Basic, and just as a we need a REST API, we need a let's say JPA. Okay, and here you need a Lombok.
I will be right back. Ajay.
Okay, here we need a H2 database. Finally, these are the basic dependency, and let's generate project. and quickly build one microservice. And open this. O- Okay, all are the okay. These are the okay. What is this test? Depend. Okay, and let's again download the my again download. Open it. This is the complete employee service. Just extract them and employee service, rest and start. That is the let's and one thing parallelly we have to take this the Swagger dependency. Google Spring documentation and this the Spring Open API. Just take the copy from the. This is the basic jars that require the test API in the Swagger. Just add the dependency here, like just this is the Lombok, this is the H2 database, and this is the just add dependency about this. So let's refresh them, and we are going to create a basic CRUD operation for this microservice. This is so as usual we are going to create one class employee, and employee have a need a long ID, employee need a string name as a just simple, and later part we can add the other thing. So we say this is our entity, we have to store and just need the setter getter as a annotation data, and this is done, and just make this is the ID as a primary key, and this ID auto generated. That is done, and let's create one employee repository interface emp repo. Just extend with the JPA repository and emp comma long, and this is the repository. And now say go to the create REST controller class emp controller. Just say here say need the public method public
EMP.
uh, all
Yeah.
yes, and they say hey need repository emp. Why I am writing again, so we feel familiarity because we this
Right,
is already know, right?
right, right.
The purpose we familiar with the code, right? And that say hey
So we
we
need
need
to
the
make the call structure.
constructor so that it's auto initialize,
Yeah.
and here say hey return repo okay. I missed the word repo. Okay, instructor repo dot find all, and they return list of employee, and here say this would be the get mapping slash em piece. Okay, this is the similarly get all, and just one more get by id one. One more get by id. Okay, and here say get one find by
ID.
id.
And
Here
remove the list
yes, path variable long
ID.
id. I pass id. Okay, and this should be
EMP.
optional of emp, right?
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
Might be written, might be not, right?
right.
So this is two basic endpoint, and let's load some initial data, right? Class
Okay, using the starter class.
uh, mm,
I'm
this
also getting a hang of it.
uh, basic data, and here say basic data, say configuration con configuration. This is the configuration, and here say load basic data. Load basic data class. Yes, create just one bean like a command line runner load db init data init data initial data, and here say I need employee repository uh, repo. uh, this is also due to this I missed the rename repo repo. Okay, this is the here say return just constructor, and here we can just say hey list of emp, and here say emp is equal to new array list, and here say hey repo dot add save all and employees, and here we have to create this employees dot add employee. So here let's use the builder to build our like a builder and all arc setter and no arc setter, and here say I need a emp dot build, and here just setting the name here Sam. Okay, and just couple of employee I can add. Okay,
Right.
joy
You just put
for-
the name. That's it, right? And the
because
ID.
id automatic generated. Okay, I don't want to put id due to
Yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
using builder say building only one specific with, right?
Right,
uh, Paul Sam Smith. Additional thing we can do later because we have not intention we can add all the detail here. Our intention just build the basic, right?
right,
Very okay. So this is the basic applications we are build with a create, get, post. You can build any other thing, right? As
right,
of now, it should works. This is the one microservice which are holding the employee service detail, right? Similarly, we are going to build one more about the let's say department
yeah.
employee on which department they are working, right? I think that's it. It should be started.
খাইতে চাও না?
Started, and let's test localhost from the Swagger. So now this application is started. Get all, check we are getting all or not. By default, we loaded some data, so this is the data I'm getting. Okay,
Right.
and so I want to test by ID. Let's just pass ID 2. I'm getting data. Okay, so this my service one service is running. Okay, on my local host. So let's similarly I can build one more service. So here I'm going to say same thing again, but service name instead of employee I'm say department DPT, right? And the same
Oh,
requirement I
it's a different file. It's a different microservice based
different
different.
application, different application, different. This is everything different,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay, yeah.
So I'm going to create again new initializer. Hey, build the new microservice with the same dependency, right? And just create generate them. Oh, what happened? Each and everything done, done, done. Okay, they are doing some late. Now this is done. So now my department I just extract all. Cancel. I am with my department. I refresh. Okay, this is the department, right?
Right.
This is the department extract and just open it. The new project, trust them, and we are. This application is my running. I'm not stopping. Huh? I'm open the two IntelliJ, right? One
Oh, okay,
my
okay.
one
You
application is still my running, right? I'm not stopping. Okay.
right,
In this form, just add the Swagger dependency for in this project as well as right. This is the my Swagger dependency. I am going to add in this department service. Department service form. I am going to add this dependency, right? And just reload. And similarly, I am going to create here department service. Same code like here, whatever I am written here, same code I am going to just copy, right?
right.
Same code. Just change the department, right? Here I am short time. I am going to change the writing here. So now this is the not a. This is should be a department controller, right? Rename, right? A refactor here say this is the department controller, DPT, right? And similarly, let's first change this the department class, right? A refactor, it should be maybe DPT, okay? Department. So I just created department ID name, and loading data basically, and the repository name also change the department, right?
Right.
Because this is the same thing, right? Refactor, rename. So this is the department report, DPT report. Okay? So now we are creating the basic information and department name maybe here IT, right? IT department name maybe computer science, maybe finance. Okay, okay. Here maybe IoT. Okay, maybe AI, right? Any tool, right? Maybe general. Okay. So these are some department I created, right? Rename this variable should be DPS. So here DPS, DPTS departments, right? We are saving all the department, right?
Right.
Done, repository done, and now similarly all the method department repo. I am just creating here service name now DPTS departments. Okay, departments by ID, right? Same variable here, right? Now this my service created. Now
Yeah.
question is that whenever I am going to run, then what happens? Because notice by default IntelliJ already started one application on which port? By default 808 port, right? Notice by default this application started 808 port.
8080. Yeah.
I'm going to start department service. The by default IntelliJ or Spring application going to start the same subject. They are going to the fail. They are not going to start. Say, okay, hey, by default 808 port used by another application, right? That means now in my machine, how to run two applications. That means we have to use a different port. So question ki how, where I'm going to give in my port. So basic just information configuration we have to give. Let's start services and then observe the
Change the
behavior.
port. Change the port.
They are showing exception, right? Server startup fail. Saying
Mm,
web server fail. Port 808 already used, right?
right.
That means we have to change this port.
Right.
So how to change?
In
Just
the
go
in the
to the
application settings,
application configuration. Here application configuration. Here say server port. Server
server port.
dot port. So let's say port 8081.
81. Yeah.
Now this application going to start on port 8081
Yeah.
and save and start this application.
Right.
So here you can say this application are going to deploy on the 8081 port. And let's check. Now notice Tomcat server is started on 8081. Now I am going to test from the Swagger because this is the one application, okay, and I am going to run port number 8081,
Okay.
right?
Okay. I see. I see. So
8081. Notice my department service is running.
yeah.
Get all departments. Try out, and I am getting all my departments, right?
Mhm.
It's clear. And
Right.
this is my department. Let's say I want to test one department. Department 5. I'm getting data 5, right?
Right.
So till now we have developed two microservices. One microservice is running on my local machine, but the port one is the 808 port, another is running on the 8081 port.
That's right. Yeah.
Now let us create third microservice who say which employee are mapping to the which employee. Okay, maybe uh, same here you can say, or here you can say make any mapping, you can say third application which are just generally make a mapping between these two, right? How
Okay.
one map to another map, or you can say simply how we want to both information in one microservice, right? So I'll do. So best option as per explanation, let's build the third microservice. That microservice is going to talk this microservice and this microservice and getting data and populating them. So just let's again build the new application using the same Spring initializer. I am going to say, hey, consuming service, con, consumer service, consumer service.
Right.
Okay, these are going to consuming the data from these two microservices. And let's generate the project. Generate project. They are going to let time. Yeah, it's done. This is the consumer service, and let's. This is our consumer service. Just export, extract all, and this is the consumer service. Just open it and trust it. So now I have opened the three IntelliJ. One for my employee service, another for my department service, and now
Yeah.
I am going again one consumer service. They are consuming the data from the both microservice. They don't have any data. Just they are going to expose one get endpoints, and they are exposing the both data from.
So
So let's
they
right.
use data from both
Simply,
services, both
they
microservices.
need also kind of just want to check this dependency. Copy Swagger dependency in this POM so that we can test from the Swagger, right? So
Right. Mhm.
dependency, just refresh them. And again, this application I'm going to also start. So we have to change port here
Mhm.
server dot port. Maybe here 8083. So here my application going to start on a 8082 port, right? That's done. And just here I am going to just build one simple REST controller, class consumer controller. And here just say, hey, consume employee data, consume department data. So just get endpoint public. mm, just as of now, I don't know, let's create the objects array data and the consume employees. Okay, all employees. As of now, let's keep all employee I want to consume. And here say, I'm not passing anything, I want to get all employees and con consumer. So question here, uh, I have not any repository because there is no employee data in my local database. This is a database with no application. This application are going to talk to this employee service. Hey, employee service, can you give me data to here? I want to display maybe some response.
Hmm.
So for this, again, we have to take the by default Spring Framework support using the uh, uh, client code. How REST communication, REST client, Spring REST client code. Okay, so by default, this support Spring Framework support. You can call one microservice to another microservice using the REST client. So they have a, given the Spring Framework support multiple way you can talk one microservice to another microservice, or you can say simply make a REST endpoint call. So we are going to discuss one of them, and later time permit we will discuss other as well as. But let's basic REST client is the one of the library, one of the Java interface they have, which help us to talk to any of the microservice. So this is a very
So this is
easy
how you go to
way.
different microservice
How can you
to get
simply make a
the
simple
information.
interface? Just call this method and which endpoint you want to call, what the data you want to get, and you can get. Basic endpoint we are going to the REST client here. So there are a couple of way like a REST client, web client, REST template, and HTTP interface. There are
Hmm.
you can say four-way Spring Framework support to communicate to talk one microservice to another microservice. So today let's going to understand one of the first REST client, right? So here how we can use the REST client. Simply you can just say, hey, I need a, because here we have not in the repository, because repository means we are going to get data from database. But in my application, no data, because our application, this application might be deployed in the different cloud, and these two applications might be deployed in the different networks, different machine.
Right.
So due to that, I'm not going to here repository. I'm going to use the I'm going to use the REST client. So here say, hey, REST client. This is the REST client. Is the REST client. Notice this the uh, interface given by the Spring Framework itself. And this Spring Framework have a lots of method. Okay, just we have to use them. So question like interface, how can create the object?
So
By
we can
default, they
create
have
a
this
class
method
the
is itself
constructor.
given a method like dot create. They create, notice create and URI, which URI want to this. So I which URI want to call. I want to call which URI. Let's first I want to check the URI of my this application. This is the my employee application. This URI I'm going to call, right? This URL return all the employees details. I'm going to just call this URI. So this application means my this application is deployed under my local IP and port 808. But here Local IP can be any different IP address, different machine, and on which machine where this my application is installed, on which port they are using. These are the configurable part, right? So I'm just going to say, hey, consumer service, this is your URL. You have to call them, and once you call, you receive some data. So question, ki how I get those data? So here say they have a dot couple of method. I want to get API. Notice which API you are going to call. You are to get API, delete API, post put API, post API, all the API. So which API going to call? Accordingly, you have to take the method. So notice this is my which API. This is my get API. So I'm going to say, hey, REST client, this is the my get API. Okay, that's good. This is your get API. And after that, what you want to retrieve? Yes, I want to retrieve. What kind of a value? Body? Yes, I want to complete the body. Body means what the response they return. This is the body response, right? This body I want, response body I want. Because I want, if you want to complete like a status code, category, 200, something, all, you can also take. But as of now, my intent focus, let's get first, I'm able to complete this body. So I say, hey, REST client, give me the REST body. Okay, so REST body is what kind of? So notice this response, REST body is the list of employees. Notice they are the list of employees. Okay, say, hey, I need the list. Here say, just say I need the list dot class. And now notice this is the, you are getting the uh, all employees, all EMPs. Okay, so here your all employees, and just you want to return them. Just how to return? Just return a new, we are returning the object array, and you will say ki all employees. This is the array initialization and EMPs. So notice I am just, I say, hey, this is the, my get endpoint. I want to test. Should be an URL slash consume all employees. Okay, all EMPs. So whenever I say all EMPs, this controller, this microservice going to talk this microservice that is deploying the 80 and the get API they are calling, and all the body that contain list they're returning to us, and we are just displaying here. So let's just test this communication means ki our consumer microservice is able to talk to the employee service. Let's start this application. Already I changed the port of this. Already I changed the port 8082 to this are going to start application. So let's time started. So here, REST client give a couple of you can say very handy method. Oh, I remove. Okay. These are the given all the way how we can make URL, how we can make body, whatever we are discussing here. Notice, create client. I'm say, hey client, get method, URI, retrieve, and body I want to string not a list. These are simple rules here given how you can read this documentation. These are very well detailed documentation available how we can use this REST client. Even notice here you want to complete body, you can get body. Here you want to know, I want to complete your status code, your header information as body all. You can say to entity, they return the complete your entity as well as. So that's our services started. So here say, yes, my services is started on port number 8082. So let's hear Swagger say, hey, I'm just going to test here port 8082. 8082. Oh, HTML. 8082 port. So this is the, my which application? Consumer controller. They have only one endpoint, get all. So this microservice are going internally call to this microservice. Currently, this microservice deployed in my local host, but can be deployed anywhere across the network, across the machine. Just you pass the particular IP address and credential details. and just test here. So notice I am getting all the employee detail from this which microservice? I am getting from this employee microservice, right? Because this microservice don't have anything, right? Let's keep, I want also all the department detail. So similarly, same here you can say all employees. Similarly, just copy and say, hey, I am going to hit the different microservice, not this. So let's say I am going to consume not this. Okay, I'm going to use this. This microservice department. This is the department URL, right? This is the complete request URL. I'm going to say, hey, this is a request URL. I'm going to hit this endpoint. Okay, so they going to call this endpoint and they return all the departments, DPT departments, and say, hey, return this department as well as. Okay, because currently there is no mapping about the employee database, but I am trying to say here you can call any microservice whatever you want. Now I am calling this two microservice and getting the both data here in this consumer microservice and restart and notice this all instead of they we can say I'm say just change the API path. This is the all employee. That's good. Only they return the all employee. And this say all departments. DEPT. Departments. All departments. Okay, just you remove this. This is the all department you are returning, right? And here say all departments and employees and department both. DEPTS. Okay. This API, this endpoint return both employee and employee. This endpoint return all departments. This only return the all employee. So here you can build any number of endpoint what you want. Simple say what we are using. Our today objective just using a REST client. REST client say, hey, give me the URL, which URL you're going to the call, which endpoint we're going to the call, which is the get endpoint, post endpoint, delete endpoint, what endpoints, what kind of data you want from those. Just basic, you can say interface like create, and then you can say get, then you can say retrieve, and then you can say body and return them. And just let's test. Okay. Here, this is the my uh, consumer controller. Refresh them, and consumer controllers are giving you the couple of endpoints. Notice consumer controller have not any database. We have not written any repository, no anything code, nothing code in this file. But still they are generating lots of data. They are calling to the different microservice. All departments you call, they return all the departments from the department microservice, right? If they want to call, hey, I want to call all might be all departments, try out and say, hey, execute, give me they are all the department they are giving, right? You say, hey, I want to both in the one response. So say, hey, I'm stop them, spot them. I need the all employee and department both. And you just run here and try it and notice here, this is the my contain, this is all the employee and corresponding all the department as well. What kind of response? Notice this microservice have a nothing, but they can call to anyone. Maybe you can want to make association mapping, you can do, right? So these are the basic way. Let's you say, hey, I want to not all department. I want to specific one employee. Employee one, I want to. Yeah, employee two, I want to. I don't want all the list. Might be case. So here say, hey, I don't want to all. I want just only one. So what you can say, hey, I don't want all. I just want only one employee. I can pass the employee ID. So question, how I can pass employee ID? So let's say I don't want all, I want to pass one. Here, here I want only one. Say uh, slash I want pass the ID. You can ID as a path variable, say long your ID, and here where you can pass. So notice in the case of our employee service already first exposed until they are this endpoint not exposed, how we can call them. So notice their endpoint already employees by ID. That this URL I am going to the call. Hey, let's I want to ID by 4 and call them. So notice they are calling the Smith. So he this URL I have to call. This is the URL I have to call. Okay, this URL I am going to call him. So hey, consumer service. This is the URL. This is the URL. But surely this is a 4 is not hard coded. Might be I want 1, 2, 3, 4. So here instead of 4, I can say plus this is my ID, which ID I have, right? This is the ID want to pass here. And they return not a list. What they return? Let's as of now simply say like as of now is JSON string. Because currently in this Pojo, in this case, there is a no our department employee class. So here we cannot say employee class. As of now, let's as a only string. Okay, and we return. As of now, later part we can understand how we can change. This is the actual department or employee object. Let's first let its work or not. That means whatever the ID I'm passing, those ID I'm passed to the employee microservice, they return data, and I'm returning in this microservice as well. So restart and let's check this endpoint also works or not. And in this case, there are a couple of cases we have to cover while consuming these microservices. Let's first test and then we talk. So let's refresh. No, not refresh this one. Consumer refresh. Now we can getting one more endpoint by ID. Let's I am going to pass. Let's say my ID is 4. So this 4 I am passing here. And notice I am getting the employee ID 4 and Smith. This is the string representation. Why? Because I am returning here just is what string. Because I'm saying I don't know currently. I want this should be written the department object itself. The question is that department class must be in this case. So this is the scenario when you want to actual types. How you know what the actual types? So you again go to the Spring microservice. Hey, I want to not this. I want to class. This is the employee class. That means they need this class must be needed in this microservice as well, so that they can recognize. Hey, this is the model I have to create. Using this Swagger documentation, now consumer microservice is going to create one model like a employee that contain ID and name. So here in the consumer microservice, I'm going to create simply one Java class, say class emp, and say this have a long ID and string name, right? So in this case, say hey, this is the just data. That means they have a setter, get, and achievement, right? So these are the things. Now this endpoint. Uh, Now we have of employee uh, EMP objects. EMP object. I want return here, not object global, but here I want to EMP object, right? And but now we created this EMP service. I here say, hey, cast to the EMP. So now we have to return this EMP, whatever the data. So internally, this API are have a capable to returning your specific object. But whatever the type class you have mentioned, you this class must be exist in your application. So due to that, sometime whatever the response we receive, our consumer service must create those response in our application, else our compiler is failed. What is emp? So what emp? So you have to create simple one class and say this is the id and this is the name. How you know this is the id and name I have to put? Because I am calling this endpoint microservice. Endpoint microservice is schema is the employee the id and name. The same thing you have to use in your consumer service. The consumer service is going to just typecast whatever information we receive from these endpoints, whatever receive. We are just going to say, hey, please get and typecast those body in the employee, right? So let's rerun and check. Properly, we are able to get the employee response instead of just string. By default, why I'm using string? Because by default, Java support string. Each and every object you can use this string, right? So here it started, and let's refresh this. And no, this is not this one. Yes, this one. Refresh this, and let's test. Now this is the two endpoint I developed. One by employee object. I need an employee object, not a string. So it would be good retry and say, hey, I want to pass employee ID 4 and get data. So notice I am getting complete employee object. So notice same I for pass therefore they are returning only the string because currently say I say hey which I am pass here 4, just pass 4, the 4 they return the complete string. Though this is the string representation. Your data is the string format, JSON string. Here your complete typecast in your complete Java object. This is the your response like a complete Java object. So here you have option while getting response which types of object you want to convert. You want to convert here by default I'm convert string, so they return your string representation only. They return employees as a string object. Okay, as a string. They return only your emp. Okay, emps. So here this method like body have just say which types of data you want to pass. You want a string, they return a complete response in string format. Here say no, I'm not interested in the string because I know this is the employee. You can cast those response in the employee, just convert to the those string into the employee object itself. Now you're creating the complete one employee here, one employee object, and in this employee object you are returning, right? So these are the simple REST client is the one interface given by the string frameworks for communicating or exchanging data between one microservice to another microservice. So let's again refresh and test. So notice here now two endpoint, one as an object. So here I am getting the employee object response. Let's pass a 5. This is the 5 as a complete response. And similarly, if you notice here, I am getting this data 5 as a string representation. Okay. And but notice when the employee service I pass, this employee service, let's say I pass 5. Okay. I'm only reading the body part. So I'm reading body part. What happened? I want this status code, yeah, some detail information. So I'll do. So similarly, they have a lots of method. Now we are not going to explore all the methods in the REST. This is a kind of a REST client class supported. Just read out. They have a lots of method like how can we retrieve header and body. So here we are using the body to get the body part. Or similarly, you want to two entity. Whenever you the two entity, you are getting the complete response like status code, header information, everything. So let us change like here this endpoint itself. This is the my all mapping. Just I similarly change to like uh, mm, to entity. Check to entity method just for testing. entity. Just check to entity. Means ki complete response I want to check. So here what I'm saying, okay, this is the first I'm going to call the endpoint, and here's a get, here's a retrieve, and after retrieve I'm going to say not body. I don't want to body. I want to method the entity. Means a complete body plus response to entity. Just just change this line. So here you are changing to entity instead of body. The same response we are getting, but something status code, header information, everything. If you want, those you can get. So here say, hey, I want to entity. So just try to explore all the method which this REST client given. This is a very simple and decent way to call or get data or exchange data from one microservice to another microservice. And let's restart and test. I am getting the complete response as well as even header success, true, failure, each and everything. Okay, let's start it. This service, and let's explore. We have added one more like endpoint like here to entity. So notice here I am run that I'm getting the complete response kind of things. Notice here, header informations, date on which data you getting, and then body as well as your success code, status 200, status code okay. So for all things you can get additional information, header and plus status code, each everything you can use the to entity method. And notice the same endpoint I call without body. I'm only interested in the body part. So you can just check only body. I'm get receiving only body part. So here you can trying to say, I'm trying to say, just use this REST and client, and lots of easy methods available. Even the we have not time to complete like all the method, but here you can say get a API, post API, put API, delete endpoints. All endpoint we can call from this. That means ki this consumer service can call, can access all the endpoints which is exposed. Question is that what happened? This microservice are not working or stop. We are not able. Then this microservice also failed. Let's say I'm going to stop this microservice. Then what happened? We are not getting into detail because this service is not working. Let's as of now, I'm going to stop this service. I'm going to stop this microservice. And our consumer is still, notice, consumer is still running. And I test, hey consumer service run. If I'm test, no, this is my consumer. I'm going to test all department. Department service is working fine. So they return me department. Notice they return department. But what happened? I'm going to say, ki, hey, all the employee service, we're not getting anything because we are getting internal error because the microservice are throwing exception because this service is not accessible. Due to that, they are throwing, hey, some exception occur. Then, in the case you are calling microservice, you have to handle try catch properly because might be the particular service is not available or particular service is stopped. So while talking to any microservice, we are going to be carefully handle try catch. For example, let us here in the case of uh, all employees and department both. So here notice my employee service is running, but department is not running. So at least this endpoint return the department information, employee leave them. But if you run, I'm not getting anything internal error because I'm not doing any kind of a exception handling. So how do that's basic. I'm just explaining this endpoints. We are covering the get all endpoints here. All employees not working. This all department working. So here, example here. So notice instead of say hey just try catch, instead of say hey I write this code must be in a try catch somehow. Here say this is the try and this is the catch. Okay, catch, try catch, something. Okay, you have to handle properly exception. Okay, so that if one fail, don't, at least you can go to the call other one, right? Try and catch and write code here, and here say catch exception. Okay, so at least here say ki whatever information we have available, and we are going to just say, hey, instead of this I have to declare one, maybe this variable must be declared in the where I can say, if we are want to return both, so this is the local variable now, so here just declare uh, here just create array objects equal to new objects of a 2 size. Okay, and here say objects just uh, of object of 0 position just assign the all employees, right? And similarly object 1 positions you design the all department, and here is just return the your objects. Okay, so here what you are trying to say, if I'm going to the call different microservice, one microservice might be this fail, so you have to handle try catch. If not try catch, your complete API response fail. Might be this API is working fine, so you have to handle carefully and go to the next microservice, call them. If they not, then return something. So in this way you have to be carefully handling exception in the case of REST client, because you are going to calling different microservice that can be accessible, that cannot be accessible, that can be network issue, that can be bandwidth issue, that can be server manually stops, right? So in this case be carefully handle the exception to calling the microservices. So let's refresh and test. Maybe our micro endpoint not works. That let's test this one. I will modify it and run and test. Notice at least I'm department getting. Another I'm getting employee service null. There is no employee. But once I started this application, it will also works. So I am going to start this service. Employee service is started. And again, I am going to, once it started, I'm going to test our API response properly. At least my service started. And this time you can go and hit again. Notice I am again not getting data. All employees, it's not started. It is started. Yes, service. Let's check this service. All employees working. Oh, no, no. Okay, why employees started are now employees working, getting data here, and here say I'm getting null. Which endpoint I check change? This is the my this and I am change here to okay. Oh, sorry. Here you have to place the 1. Okay, my fault. Okay, in the 0 I'm starting all employee and 1 I'm on one data. My bad. So in this case, you are getting data, right? So employee go to the 0%, 1 go in the department. Okay, so let's now test. And now you are getting the both. This is the your employee detail and this is your service detail. And if successfully, and if what happened, I stop this employee service, no employee service running, and if someone going to again test this endpoint, at least this endpoint responds something, maybe employee detail null, but department detail can get data. Okay, So that is today. You have anything, any question for the day?
Oh, I had a few questions.
Yes, ask.
Yeah, I had few questions, but I think you had a mic problem earlier.
No, I'm able to hear you. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So the earlier when the lecture was going,
Hmm.
uh, at that time I asked,
Oh, due to the microphone
yeah,
issue.
yeah. I don't know which uh, question because
Okay.
yeah, at that time, but then I realized maybe there is a microphone problem.
Oh, sorry.
No, no, no problem.
So let's do practice. So in summary, what we did, we developed three different microservices, like
Okay.
employee service, department service, and consumer service. Consumer service just consuming these two microservices, right?
Hmm. They are taking information.
Right. Yes. But
So
they don't have any.
you have to keep the other server running.
Yeah, both are running. If one is stop, data not consuming, right?
Okay, okay,
We are demonstrated those example as well, right? If employee service is down,
right,
we are not getting employee detail, but we are getting like here our uh, department details.
right, right.
You notice no employee detail, but department detail I'm getting, right?
Secret.
So
Right.
be carefully whenever you are going to use the RestClient.call, and here might be sometime you get data, sometime you get exception. So you have to
Right.
handle catch properly. Like here we did, whenever I came to call in the employee microservice inside a try catch. Again, you are going to call in different microservice, again different try catch. Don't put in the same, right?
So, and when you use
Hmm.
another microservice, you use REST client in
Ye-
that case.
Just
REST client.
what microservice going to consume that need the only REST client.
Sorry,
REST
say it again.
client, the REST client only used to consuming microservice,
Okay, okay.
right?
Only to consume. Okay.
Right?
Right.
Because
And the rest are the same.
REST are the same. Just you are calling and getting data. These are the, and we are going to again discuss in this example multiple times, because we have to only cover the get endpoint, maybe put endpoint, delete endpoint, all endpoint you can call, consume,
Oh,
right?
so you can do other things too.
All the operation you can consume. Okay.
Right, right. I understand. Okay.
Will documentation here, just go through written here, Spring
Right,
documentation,
right,
right?
right,
Whatever we are discussing, nothing is whatever this means, and here only those things we discuss, right?
right.
Let's practice how one microservice exchange data with another microservice, right?
This is a
Via
good
the,
this is a good example. Like it's like a multi microservice. You combine all three.
and whenever on local application I am trying to run, so we have to change the different port, right? Different
Right.
port, different port. But whenever you deploy this application, the different machines don't need to change. Maybe you want to change, you can change. So you can change, right? I think we're good for the day.
Yeah.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye
Bye.
now.